So please welcome John Stockton. There you are. John, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, Drew. Thanks for inviting me.
So tell us how you got into this. I want to hear sort of your story. And I know Dr. Victory has heard it, but most of us may not be aware. So how you became concerned and what you're sort of thinking these days.
Well, it goes way back for me. I mean, when I started playing in the NBA with the Utah Jazz, I came across actually a chiropractor, Craig Bueller, who I resisted. I kind of grew up in the medical world. My mom was a nurse, my sister was a nurse, and I didn't think chiropractors had much to offer. But over time, he really kind of proved. He fixed my sprained ankles, pulled hamstrings, sniffles, whatever. Always not using drugs. And one of his suggestions was, hey, you maybe want to, as we started having children, my wife and I, maybe you want to think about not having vaccines. And I thought he was out of his mind. We continued to follow the schedule until one of our children was sick from the shots and never got unsick and was awful. And we didn't really tie it to the shots until the 4-year shots, where it was obvious. Shots came, he was sick immediately. Oh, okay, maybe he's onto something. So I was a slow learner. It took me a while, but it took my wife and I a while to do that. And then we paid attention. Then we've been reading and studying since on the topic. And really, my biggest regret is that I kicked it down the road for a long time. And I've had friends now that have had children that have had issues, certainly vaccine related. And I didn't say something, 35 years ago when I started learning about it. So that's my story getting to this. And then COVID hits, I felt prepared. I mean, there was nothing about it that was new. Scare the heck out of you. They lie about the results, tell you things have been debunked, the injuries that are caused, and then they take credit for things that don't happen. They say, well, it saved all these lives. It didn't. And there's numerous incidences of that all the way back to polio, which is, I can't think, everybody's gold standard of a vaccine, where everybody thinks that it saved us from polio. And Jonas Salk, who invented it, even said it did. Said it was the end of DDT is what saved us from polio. And this vaccine was introduced after the graph had fallen anyway. So, that's kind of the story of it. And that's what I'm sticking
And what is your podcast about now?
Well, it's about medical freedom largely because of COVID and the intrusion on that. We were really into people being able to choose what goes into their own bodies as athletes. That's kind of where it started. Ken's a tremendous athlete, Green Bay Packer, Hall of Famer, offensive lineman, and we think people should have the right to say what goes into our body. Heck, it's our vessel. If you're an athlete, you succeed or fail based on the health of your body, and so giving up that right for any reason is absurd.
Do you think you have any obligation to, let's say there is some ability to protect other people with vaccines or some therapy like that, are you under any obligation to protect others?
I think we're citizens. We all have obligations to our fellow citizen, but does that involve in putting something, first of all, experimental? It doesn't matter whether it is or not, as far as my point of view. I should never have to put something into my body to protect somebody else. This is mine,
Okay.
and nobody has the right to intervene. And I don't know why that's been such a hard thing for people to hold on to.
The hard thing being that you have no obligation to take something for someone else that puts you at risk.
Absolutely, a drug's a great example. I mean, these are chemicals. Uh, yeah, there's a lot of obligations in a society. You can't cross the yellow line when you're driving. You can't do a lot of things for the protection of others, but your body's your temple, and you get to choose what goes in it or on it, frankly.
And so do you object to all vaccines? Everything?
I'd say, yeah, at this point. I mean, the COVID has peeled the curtain back. And when you start looking at, you take the rose colored glasses off and you say, okay, which ones have been effective? I think every vaccine, particularly the ones on the schedule, have very questionable safety histories. Whether they've helped or not, I like to use the flu shot as an example. We were told that we should take those when I was playing, that it's going to keep you from getting the flu. You find out that it doesn't. It certainly didn't for me. I ended up spending some time in a Charlotte hospital with, I guess it was the flu, after I'd had the flu shot. And so I don't believe it works. I watched it with my dad. My dad was 85 years old. Everybody insists that you protect old people with the shot. They don't realize there's mercury in that shot. Unless you're pretty crafty about how you get your supply, There's mercury, aluminum, formaldehyde, neomycin. God knows what else is in there. And these are all chemicals that are being put into our body, and they disrupt, if not ruin, our immune system. So, yeah, I think I am against all vaccines. I know I wouldn't take another one.